So I talk about defensive use of a firearm in many of my videos and say when defensive use is high, homicides are lower. And I'm noticing a similar pattern when it comes to mass shootings. We've had 14 mass shootings in the first 6 days of 2023. That's an average of 2.3 per day. Last year's average was 1.8 per day. So I'm going to graph out my analysis of the importance of defensive use being high to keep the homicides lower, and you can decide if you agree or disagree with my thought process. This graph shows the number of gun homicides each year per each defensive use. Now these numbers are strictly firearm numbers and not overall murder numbers. So pre-2020, there were less than 10 gun homicides per defensive use. And since 2020, the number of homicides have been increasing as defensive use is decreasing, resulting in 17.3 homicides in 2022 per one defensive use, twice what it was in 2014, 16, 17, and 18. 2017 recorded the most defensive use incidents with 2,118, but also recorded the highest gun homicide numbers pre-2020 with 15,741. But because the defensive use was as high as it was, there were only 7.4 homicides per each defensive use. I'm noticing the same pattern with mass shootings. In 2017, there was one mass shooting for every 6.1 defensive use. In 2022, there was 1.8 defensive uses for every one mass shooting. And we're starting out 2023 with one defensive use per every 15.7 homicides, which is slightly better than the last couple years. But we've had 14 mass shootings and only 20 defensive use, which is 1.4 defensive use for every mass shooting. We have literally gone from one mass shooting for every 6.1 defensive uses in 2017 to one mass shooting for every 1.4 defensive uses in 5 years. I'm not saying defensive use is the answer, but statistically, when defensive use is high, both homicides and mass shootings are lower. 2022, defensive use numbers were nearly half what they were in 2017. Mass shootings were nearly double, and there were 4,400 more homicides in 2022 than in 2017. So looking at this data, how important do you feel defensive use is? Do you think defensive use is the answer? We're a long way from where we were in 2017 and even 2016 and 2018. But if mass shootings and homicides are going to keep going up every year and the defensive use continues to fall, things are going to get a lot worse very quickly. Because we went from the best year to the worst year in 5 years. Support this channel and pick yourself up some original crime-related apparel. Look for the link in the description.